This section will cover adding files to your project. These steps allow you to collect the data that will ultimately go into creating the green infrastructure map. Before following these steps to add files to the project, it's important that you go over the section on preparing your data. That way you have the correct files that match the tool and its different requirements. To begin, open a blank map document in ArcMap. Make sure the gray to green project toolbar has been added and is visible. You can do this by right-clicking in the gray space at the top of the window and selecting Gray to Green Project. Click the Add Files button, which is located towards the center of the project toolbar. After clicking the Add Files button, the Add File tool should open. Click on the folder icon next to Project File to modify. Click on the project file that was created in the prior steps. This should be a file ending in .p. Once you've selected the file, go ahead and click Open. Now you can start adding files to your project. Do this by clicking the button called Feature or Raster Layer to Add. Click on the file that you want to add to the project. In this case, we click on an elevation raster file. And finally, click the Add button. Now select the drop-down menu under Type of File. This is going to allow us to match the file that we added to the file that is expected by the tool. Here we click on Digital Elevation Model Raster because in the previous step we selected a file that was an elevation raster file type. Checks exist within the tool so that error messages appear if the file type you have selected is incorrect. Reference the section on preparing your GIS data if you're having trouble picking the correct type of data or if you're getting a lot of these error messages. After the type of file is selected, the values are added to the table below and the previous selections are cleared. Now you can continue the process of adding files to the project. Add more files to the project following the same steps as before. I'd like to point out that here we are selecting EnviroAtlas. This is a dataset provided free to the public, although it's not available in every region. This single dataset provides information for multiple different categories when the tool calculates the green infrastructure map. Now you can see that multiple files have been added to the table. This tool also contains different settings the user can adjust for each project. Below the Added Features table, there are options for data units and cutoff points. You can select the appropriate elevation units, selecting either feet or meters. You can also change the protective buffer, which is automatically set at 100 feet. The default for % tree canopy cutoff and % impervious canopy cutoff is at 50%. If you are not using EnviroAtlas for land cover data, you have the option of using % impervious data sets and % tree cover data sets to supply the necessary information. If you do this, you may want to adjust the cutoff values following the steps on the screen. Typically, a cutoff value between 25% and 35% yields the best results. Basically, you will follow the steps of adding files to your project, changing cutoff values, and then generating your green infrastructure map. Then you can go in and check to see how well the resulting canopy layers match the actual tree canopy and impervious canopy layers from your aerial images. You may have to repeat the process of adding files to your project, changing cutoff values, and creating maps until the cutoff values yield layers that are a best match with aerial images. Remember, if you use EnviroAtlas or an alternative land cover dataset, you do not have to follow the steps of adjusting cutoff values. This is only if you don't have a land cover dataset that provides sufficient canopy information. After making adjustments, click OK. The tool will locate the files you selected and make a copy of each to use in the project. Once this action is completed, click Close. Now you can visit your project folder and open the map file, the one ending in .mxd, and view the newly added files in the map. Within ArcMap, you can turn layers on and off to view them. The files will be clipped to fit the project boundary when the final green infrastructure map is created. If you look in the catalog, you can see the files that have been added to the project within the project geo database. Now you're almost ready to calculate your green infrastructure map. Before moving on, remember to close any files you have opened, including this .mxd map file. To summarize, you're going to add files using the gray to green project toolbar. You want to add enough data so that the tool can create the green infrastructure map and later on your BMP siting information. This means the bare minimum files needed, at least for the green infrastructure map, are a soils layer with a hydrological group, a digital elevation raster, and a complete community land cover file, ideally EnviroAtlas. If you do not have EnviroAtlas or an alternative land cover dataset, you can use a combination of a tree canopy layer and an impervious canopy layer. If you do this, make sure to adjust cutoff values until the result layers in your map match the aerial images for these canopies. And you can find the map file within the project folder. Thank you for watching this tutorial, and please check out our other videos on the Gray to Green infrastructure tool.